Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Core Energy Experience. Today, our special guest has a lot to say about some very interesting things. You're all going to find it very intriguing. I know I do. I relate to him very well. So we're going to be spinning it around a little bit. So hang on to your seats. We're going to be jumping a bit here and there, but it all relates to something very important that we all share, and we should share a lot more. With that being said, our guest tonight is Owen Burns. Owen is a author, a speaker, and executive coach. And there's more behind that as I'm finding out more and more about him. So we'd like to welcome you, Owen. How are you today?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, Kurt. This is great.
Yeah, excited to have you.
Absolutely.
Yes, awesome. So let's get right into it because we're going to be bouncing around a little bit.
All right.
Why don't you give us a little bit of a background about who you are so the audience can know, and then we're going to start to go.
Yeah. So I'd be remiss if I didn't start off with talking about my family because I'd get in trouble if I didn't. So,
we should. That's talking about where things start.
Yeah. So married 30 years, 3 kids, grew up here in Rumson, New Jersey, and commuted to New York City. We're probably on the same boat back and forth to New York for many years. And, just 1 year led to 2 to 3, 10. All of a sudden now wow, this is amazing. So I found myself in corporate America, worked for big consulting firms, and I started writing this book. And that's why we're here today.
Really? So when did you start writing the book?
So really, probably, I'm going to say almost 3 years ago, I started kind of the concepts and just things I was seeing and going on in the world and in the business. And it was really about the past 2 years that I really got into and published just last year. Mm-hmm. But what I found is, going out into in the corporate world, and I'm sure many people experience this, there's so much animosity in the world, right? And I was consulting for major corporations. So, you spend millions of dollars on all kinds of consulting and right-sizing the company, and you knew nothing was going to work because there's so much animosity, backbiting inside the company, and even with their clients. Like, can't everybody just get along, right? So,
where do you start feeling the animosity from? What level?
Well, really from the C-suite, the senior VP. Sure. I shouldn't say because I think a lot of the C-suite folks have their heart in the right place, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but what happens a lot of times is that middle management starts to fall apart, that's where the pressure is.
Yeah, I agree.
And so what happens is a lot of people, the pressure adds up and they're pointing fingers and let's just get this done. And there's this confusion that happens inside, but it's the disconnection. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think a lot of what we're talking about today, hopefully we'll talk about this, is this disconnection, which permeates fear. Right. And so people aren't anxiety and isolation. Yeah. And these are major problems that are not just affecting companies, individuals, families, and when I say individuals, themselves internally. Sure. But think about that. It all goes out to the family, community, and even our countries. And these are things we could really talk to and really change the trajectory where we are by starting with ourselves.
Yes. The name of the book, The Power of Love in Business?
Yeah.
What a great name.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I got some pushback on that. People have said, there's no love in business.
We love the pushback. We know we're doing something right when we get the pushback.
That's right. We're rebels. Right?
Yeah, when it's all quiet, it's uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. But that's it. Yeah, it is an oxymoron. I get it. And it is a little edgy. But at the end of the day, when I do talk to people like, oh, I get that. I totally get that. You talk to people like Oprah Winfrey, who's her whole business is about that. Satya Nadella from Microsoft, and it goes on and on. Companies like Patagonia and it goes on. Campbell's Soup. These are companies that are born and bred, and they live the power of love in their business, and that's why they're so successful.
Yeah. Let's talk about that so the audience, we can get them keyed in a little more. Yeah. Now we have them teed up. Yeah. So when we speak of the love in the business, let's go there. Yeah. How do you see that? In your history, let's back up to where we are today. So when you first started getting involved in your business and it was growing and the book, what triggered the book idea? Yeah. And what have you been seeing along your journey in your career of how the effect of love does or doesn't affect a corporation? Yeah.
So I know exactly the moments, and I actually wrote them down as kind of journaled because a lot of times you're in business like, did that person just say that? I mean, we are a publicly traded company, and the company I was with does teach empathy and sell this type of products and teach and should have this decorum where the people know what to say, what not to say. But people still say things. You're like, oh my gosh! And then maybe talk to the fellow later and say, hey, you really shouldn't say that. But some of it just goes under the like water under the bridge.
So we're pointing towards communication skills.
Communication skills, but also common decency. Right?
There we go.
And then what happens is a lot of people are isolated, especially with COVID, even before COVID, right? Because a lot of technology has taken its place.
Yeah.
But I'll back up even before that, Ken. I'm sorry.
Please.
When I was running an office in Wall Street and took over, it was a complete disaster. It was I was brought in to kind of help turn it around. This one particular office, 28 salespeople, 30 operational people. It was 24/7 shop. You were there.
Yeah.
So, but it was so intense, and we were at 50% of plan. People hated each other. There was so much arguing inside. And after the first day, I walked through. I just took notes. And next day, I brought everybody into my office. The office is a lot bigger than this. It was crammed with people. And I said, I know what the problem. And they all started looking at each other, kind of grimacing a little bit like, are we all going to be fired?
Yeah.
And I said, we're all going to start being nice to each other. And they kind of laughed. And I said, really?
Yeah.
You guys, the way you talk to each other. And there's stuff written on the wall. And I'm like, you just got to change our what we're saying, how we're going to, and long story short, I turned the office around. In 6 months, we were 50% of plan to 120% of plan.
Holy cow.
And I'll just say because people got along, we got rid of the things that weren't working, right? The communication internally, some of the processes and strategies that wasn't quantum physics. It was, let's just be smart, realistic about it. And we did things like going out after work. I brought my putter, my golf in. We played golf in the office.
There you
we had
go.
contests, and we had a great time.
Yeah,
and people were laughing,
stuff.
we have a good time. And potluck lunches.
Yeah.
And people got to show off.
Right.
And there's always that ethnic group and that ethnic group. Well, suddenly they're like, oh, this is your ethnic group? Everybody wanted to flaunt. Everybody wanted to, and it was great. People had a great time. But we brought that commonality together and people are like, oh, we're not so isolated. And I mean, there's numbers there, but look, there's all kinds of data around this. In my book, I go into reports from PwC, Deloitte, and all these other great companies.
Excellent.
And there are actually companies that are monitored by how much empathy they lead with. And those companies, we call them love-based companies. Publicly traded companies, many of them, most of them are. But those companies that are leading with love, with where they take care of employee programs, the CEO's plugged into this concept, right? And he's actively talking about love. Those companies outperform companies a minimum of 20%.
And if I might just jump in, we're talking about all companies.
Of all companies, yeah,
Thank
right.
you.
Of all companies.
Yeah, I just want to clear that up for everybody. Yeah.
Yes, right.
It's not just corp.
No, it's all
entrepreneurs,
companies.
startups,
Absolutely.
Whatever it might be.
And think about its organizations as a whole. But if you could be minimum 20% more effective, more profitable, and have people going home feeling better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally money. You know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do want to touch on that a bit later about the in-home office hybrid work.
Right.
So when we're working with the boardrooms and we're working with mid-management and whatnot, and we hear that, we hear that little bit of discourse.
Yeah.
People start talking over one another. I use an exercise I recommend, and we call it the open and close cup. Have you heard of it?
No, that was.
So everyone has a cup in front of them with something they can cover it up with, a cover.
Okay.
So the idea is that everyone covers their cup. Now, someone's going to talk, and we recommend 3 minutes or so, whatever. It depends on how intense things are in the office, right? They speak for 3 minutes. No one else speaks, and then that person covers their cup, right?
Love
we
that.
go around one by one.
Yeah.
And then the idea is that, listen, we all have a say. We all have value. Everyone wants to say something, have input for the right reasons, we hope, right?
Sure.
But we're all different.
Yeah.
So this is where the communication comes in that you've been talking about, right? More and more of that communication. And I've found when we do these little exercises like you described, get the putter out and start doing things like that, different things segue away from the intensity of the business, we start to feel the love.
Yeah.
The performance starts to rise.
Yeah.
In collaboration, not in segregation.
Right.
That's what we look for, right?
I love that. I love the idea of the cup too. It's brilliant. It's
Yeah,
really
it
good.
works too.
So maybe I'll give the viewers another tip. This is something we use actively, and I do coach my folks. It's actually part of my next book called The Love Switch, which is coming out.
Do we know when to look for that?
Hopefully by the end of this month. And
oh wow, good for
that'll
you.
be out there.
Great.
But part of that, and I'll give you the rundown real quick because it dovetails nicely into the communication. Kurt, what happens when something goes wrong? Right? So you have a conversation, something happens, you're blindsided with something. Well, first we just recognize just what just happened. Rather than respond, just recognize face value and just process that. And then reset, which is kind of breathe, as you're saying, just that pause over the cup.
Yeah.
And then
It's all moments, right?
Exactly, right? And then after the reset, we reframe it. And we think, what would that avatar of love do? And that avatar is different for everybody. You may have a mentor that you love, or somebody really inspired you, a parent, somebody you really look up to. What would that avatar of love do? And then we respond out of love rather than we act out of fear.
Yeah.
Right. And then we finally reconnect after that. And you think about, well, that's great, Owen, but we're in New York City, and the idea is this gives you everybody a platform kind of to go to.
Yeah.
You say cover the cup kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
But we walk through that. But what I mentioned this because you mentioned the covering the cup. That second part, the reset, when we pause. I always tell people when we're talking to somebody, count to 4 before you respond. Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Nod your head, count to 4, and oxygenate yourself first, because a lot of people are like, right, in a conversation. Hyperventilate, right? Yeah. Take that breath and take that deep breath. And if you're really into breathing, there's all kinds of good breathing we could do, and box breathing, and there's experts in this field. But when you're oxygenating, that's another thing, but you're thinking in the meantime. And the other person on the other side is saying, Kurt's thinking what I'm saying, and that he's really paying attention. And he's really, this is going to be good. And he probably leans in. But that pause is so important. And we get away from that.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because when you're talking about how we should speak kinder to one another and change our language, neurolinguistic programming, I'm sure you're very familiar with.
Yeah.
Let's discuss that, because I'm always discussing it.
Okay, yeah.
Let's discuss how we speak to ourselves changes our thoughts and our behavior.
Right.
And how you see that in your career, because I know you're working with it all the time. Changing how we speak to ourselves, in essence, we're going to change how we speak to the world as it is, right? Yeah. Very important to be more kind, more gentle. Right. The inner critics in every one of us, always, that's not going to stop. Right. So that's part of managing, the core energy is part of what we work with here. We have very similar, of course, we have excellent energy together, but also similar understandings of how to execute the methodology to help people start working with themselves. And your love button is great, and I do want to keep going there. Yeah. There's also something, turn on the habit that changes everything.
Yeah.
That's great. So if you could talk about something like that and the NLP a little bit, would be great.
Yeah, sure. I'm a huge fan of NLP, but I think it's also
the Neurolinguistic Programming, so we can just find out for everybody. Right.
There you go. Right. Yeah. I was turned on to years ago with Tony Robbins does a lot of that, and he spends a lot of time on that. But the idea is you can reprogram, and people can change, right? And we could all change. And I talk about it in my book.
We do anyway.
Yeah.
There's one constant in life: change.
It's change. It's change.
And people say, "Well, how's it?" Well, time. We're attached to time. What does time do? It changes. What's it do? It goes forward. So we go forward too.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, excuse me for that one.
No, I love that. Yeah. And that's a lot of what we're talking about, right? With the book, The Power of Love, and the love switch. The love switch, the idea is that to flip the switch, as we talk people, and that does, it follows really NLP in the fact that it does interrupt that pattern. There's things that a lot of times, and it's based on neuroscience. So it does, interrupt that pattern that we're used to going through, and rather than, again, we're thinking about love. How would love reply when somebody?
Are you talking about limiting beliefs when you talk about patterns, or what do you believe there?
That's a big part of it, and we could talk about that with limiting beliefs, because that comes a lot with a lot of my coaching. Because when we do that, 9 times out of 10, people come up with things. Oh, that one person said something 5 years ago or 20 years ago. Oh, I got fired from that one job because. And people work out that fear, and they're carrying around with them forever.
Isn't it interesting?
It's amazing. And then
it should be awareness, acceptance, validation. Work with it. Drop. Goodbye.
Exactly. Right. But we're human, and this is what happens. And it'd be great if we took only the good things too. Yeah. That wouldn't be always a good thing too, because we wouldn't have that sense of reality. But it comes down to the first premise of my book, The Power of Love in Business. We should have a truth, our own truth, and what that is. And that's the first principle. When we sit down and really focus on, who am I, where am I, and what do I want? Well, then half the battle's won, right? Then all of a sudden it comes up, that one voice, but I already know what I want. If we're really, truly passionate about it. When I sit down with the folks who I'm coaching, and I stole this from Bob Goff, and our listeners know Bob Goff, the author, but he talks about, when people are driving by these air traffic controllers, they have to, at the airplanes, they have to say, who are you, where are you, what do you want? And then they could do something about it. And we can't do anything until we know where we are. And the same people around us, right? So that question is so important. When I sit down with my coach and I tell people, just do that. Take out your journal and write that at the top of the page and just take the afternoon off or the whole day and just start writing. That becomes really therapeutic, but it also becomes really powerful because then that comes to you. And now all those voices that you hear, all those old sayings don't mean so much. I do recommend talking to a professional on NLP because they could do wonders. I've heard amazing things. And, but
more and more people are getting into it. Yeah. They're finally realizing what it is. Sort of been a quiet about it for some reason. It's no longer a secret. It's been brought up by people like you and myself. Others are promoting it more and more. Mm-hmm. And the public is understanding that, hey, this is true.
Yeah.
Why do I always let the inner critic win? Why do I always say to myself, I can't, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And of course, when we start talking about energy, including quantum if you want, but the frequencies and whatnot, whatever we say out loud, our body's listening to. Same with our inner thoughts, back to the NLP. So it's very interesting to stay empowered by our core and how we operate starting from within, right? We were talking about that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like so if we're in a business, in a corporation, a partnership, whatever it might be, or a relationship, whatever it is, it's kind of like, we go from the me to the we to the us.
I love that.
And it works. And you and I have discussed that, what we're talking about in business here today is also very applicable to what goes on in our daily lives.
Yeah.
All the way through 100%. Yeah. The power of love, leadership, energized with purpose and passion.
Yes.
Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, that's kind of our tagline. I mean, look, when we have Connect to Our Why, I mean, we talk about Simon Sinek and the power of why. It's such a great book. But when we lead with purpose and we have that why out there and we know what that is, we're unstoppable. Yeah. They say the most powerful force in the planet is the spirit on fire. When you know what that is, you can't stop anybody, right? We just saw the hockey team win this past game, the U.S. against Canada, and those guys just had fire inside them. You just saw it. They just wanted it, right? And we all see that, as you said, about energy.
And the relationship they had with one another, the love, they talk about it now, the love, they found love.
And that was Jack Hughes, the first thing I just love my team. I love the United States. I love the brotherhood. He didn't say I like the brotherhood. We followed our rules. He's like, I love this, and we were. You knew
meant
that's
to hear to it, the passion.
Exactly. So this energy with Jack Hughes and the Olympics was just amazing, right? And the whole concept, like, I love the United States. I love my team. And it was so much passion, right? Yeah. But that energy shows up, and that's got to be first and foremost. That when you connect that energy that comes through, because look, you could walk into a room and. We've heard it many times that your energy walks into the room before you do. We've heard that many times, but the truth is it's very much the case. And our emotions are really just signals of what we're actually feeling and thinking. So when we feel that, that's going to impact our energy. So it's so important to really hone in on that and have love as the main thing, and everything else will follow.
Yeah, so true. Change equals awareness plus understanding. And love's a very important thing to grasp in that sense. And it's so empowering. So let's talk about purpose and the purpose of love and how that stimulates us through our performance, our transition, our well-being. Can we go there for a little bit?
Yeah. So we have a book. I have a whole chapter on the well-being and how that helps us, right? But before we get there, why don't we just back up a little bit, because there's another need here that we might have jumped across. We were talking about.
Sure, we're jumping all over the place.
I know, all over the place. Yeah.
I trip like mad. So thank you for hanging with me.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was a report from the Surgeon General not too long ago about the report on isolation and loneliness in the United States, but it's also around the world. This isn't just a U.S. problem; it's all around the world.
Isolation. We don't succeed in isolation.
I know, that's right. It's isolation and loneliness, but it also with that. And this is the number one concern for the Surgeon General, because there's so many things that are related to it. Yes. Heart disease, diabetes, all those things are relevant, but a lot of them are connected to this one cause. And so there's a massive book. It's like 400 pages, but they go into all the effects of isolation, loneliness. And what happens is that people end up having all these diseases and all because it manifests itself. And the opposite is true too. And I address that specifically in the book, because when we have wellness programs, it's good for our psyche, our emotions, it's
Gut
good for our
health.
health, our
Gut
gut health, and all those things manifest itself. And when we change that, everything gets better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important to, not just say it, and yes, there are all sorts of science around that too, right? About having that positivity around it. But when you have love and you could get through anything, right? It's greater than anything. That just puts you through the day, and you're so much more healthier, body, mind, and soul.
Yeah. It's so interesting because we take love for granted, particularly the word itself. Oh, I love chocolate. I love the way you dress.
Yeah.
I love, I love all that look. I love this. I love the stone, and I understand that. But back to communicating and using neurolinguistic programming, speaking to ourselves in certain ways, it's going to come out, et cetera, et cetera. It's very important for us to concentrate and remember in communication, when we're communicating, the most important aspect of the senses of communication is the listening, as you pointed out earlier.
Yeah.
And we tend as people to, when we get involved in, and we're all passionate. We all have some sort of passion in us. Yeah. When that passion starts to rise in whatever form it starts to come out in, we don't take that moment that you were talking about earlier, that pause, and conscious choice leaks into just choice.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that pause and let it calm and
Right.
let's listen, digest, process. So when we speak of love in Owen's language, there's a lot to it. So
Sure.
we were just talking about the aspect of the business, the organizational level, the C's to the mid and all. How do you see what's going on in the business world today? Since you and I have been involved all these years, we've seen a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And today we're now seeing, our love used to be around the water cooler, right? We
that's
were
right.
all in the office.
Sure.
And, we say around the water cooler as a metaphor for, we would take time out to gab, to chat,
Yeah.
to talk about anything other
Absolutely.
than work.
Yeah.
Form that brother, sisterhood, that love. We'll
Yeah.
just say that for everyone. It's love for all sexes.
Yeah.
So what do you see happening now with the hybrid? Do you see any loss of love as a corp? Do you see more of it? And we're going a little deeper here, and I'm tripping, but let's keep going with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big issue, right? I mean, it happened certainly before COVID, but it certainly compounded where people became more isolated. But a lot of folks today even that isolation does break down that communication, even a simple Zoom call, right? Because you're missing all the body language and you're on a time, and all of a sudden it's like, you don't have this downtime. So how are the kids? And then, oh, by the way, this other thing happened. So we're missing that in between, that other conversation. There's nothing better than a face-to-face meeting, but there's also that human connection. But let's take it a step further, because we have AI today, and which is fantastic. It's going to do a lot of good. It's already helping every profession, right? Medical, legal, it goes on and on. But what that doesn't have that human connection, where it really matters, where you have this thing that I get it.
When you say human connection, are we all encompassing about our senses, or are we just concentrating on the love aspect, or?
So it's all senses for sure, right? And I think that's because there's different ways we all sense things.
Hear, touch, taste, feel.
Right. And also, if there's another person in the room, they're going to experience something different.
Yes.
Because we all see things different way.
Yeah.
But when we have that connection, that communication of love, there's something great. This is what human beings come together, right? This is the main thing. And something great happens to that. And we know that when you don't have that, you could obviously sense that. But we'll go back to a moment. We talked about the energy in the room, because we miss that when we're and isolated and remote. But Dr. Stephen Hawkins talked about different energy levels. I don't know if you remember this report. It's really fascinating. But he took out ways to measure things like anger and boredom and apathy.
Yeah.
Right. And it actually measured them in hertz. And those actually came in like 60 hertz.
Measure them in hertz?
Yeah. So that comes down into...
So I don't know all the particulars. I know the outside, what you're talking about. But
so that comes down around at 60, 60, 70, and that's pretty low. You're like, oh, that's not really... But if you compare that to love, which is at 380, 375 or something like that.
Wow.
385. Yeah, so it's dramatically higher. So the idea is
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then joy is just above that. But you think about that when you
Joy above love.
Yep. But just a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. But that's like kind of a product.
Let's not skip because I'll go to something else.
Yeah.
Explain to us why that is.
Well, I think when you look at things like joy and things like just totally being connected, there's a spiritual sense, right? And this is really a gist of it. And look, I mean, I'm the Christian faith, so I would say, Jesus is love. Somebody else may say something different. But I think when you get to that place, you do get into this infinite intelligence, and that's really where we shine as a world. We're put on this planet for a reason, right? We build businesses. We don't build businesses just because we want computers or whatever. It's for something. We want something, and that's something beautiful everyone brings to the table. It's a passion. Yeah. But that, I think, is divinely inspired. And I think when we listen to that, that's when we get to those higher levels.
Mm-hmm. I spoke about this a little bit off camera, and we're going to speak about it again. There's that one saying I love so much. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Right? That's
Yes.
so true. So we were talking about our different disciplines, mental, physical, and then you and I started touching about our spirituality.
Yeah.
And you and I both are on the same understanding there. We're not talking about religion.
Right.
We're talking about what we're all born with, which is really our identification, is who we are. And this is why in the core, when we break it down, this is one of the stronger influences we have and we go to, because we all have it. Remember, we're all the same inside. We're all built the same.
Absolutely.
And the disciplines are all the disciplines we all work with too. The spirituality, and particularly when I speak in public with people about it, everyone gets a little antsy there because we think we're defining religion.
Right.
And it's not that.
Yeah.
And with our spirituality is filled with love.
Yeah.
How do you see the spirituality affecting humans in everyday life and in the organizational business world?
So I spent a lot of time in that area, Kurt. When I was building the book, I had the concepts together, just seeing the different things that were going on. And I said, let's see if we could find some commonalities and start defining love. And so what I did is I took the wisdom literature that was out there, and I spent a lot of all the great books that we've all read. I've gone to like hundreds of seminars and read so many books, right? Self-improvement and business books and religious books over the years, English major. But I did all that work, but then I studied the different world religions, even the Tao Te Ching, the the Vedas, the Quran, the Torah, the Christian Bible, and and you find when you put there's many principles that would define love or speak to love,
right?
But these are the ones that are common, the commonalities that come together, and this is the good news, right? Because we're one planet. Hopefully, we get along, but that's where these things come across, and they connect. But I'll tell you a funny story. So I was, when I was writing the book, I was getting all these principles together, and was in the backyard with my wife. I said, the opposite of love isn't hate; it's fear.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh no, it's hate." She's a school teacher, and I said, "Oh no, it's fear." So we debate this for like 4 hours, probably too much wine. It's now 11 o'clock at night, so let's put the fire out. We go out, and we go to church the next morning, 8 o'clock mass, and Father Joe goes up on the pulpit, and he takes a deep breath and says, "The opposite of love isn't hate, it's fear."
The energy of that. I love it. There we go.
It was like a lightning strike.
Yeah.
And so from there, we're just like, I went back.
How'd your wife take that?
She's like, "You got to write this book." I said, "Yeah, you think?"
There we go.
Yeah, I was just like, it was a lightning strike. And I thought, wow, this is my purpose. I knew it was, but now I'm like, I'm all in on this. But all of a sudden, the principles all came together, and the research I had done, which mountains of it, just all really kind of got rank and file. I'm like, well, that happens. This. And all of a sudden it came together where we have these 7 to heaven principles, I call, that help you build love. And the other ones are 5 to thrive. How do you maintain that? And
can you run by the 7 and the 5 real quick?
Yeah, so real quick, it's truth and desire. We already talked about that. Who are you? Where are you? What do you want?
Yeah. The big who and the why. Who and the why.
Who and the why. Next is courageous communications, principle 3, because we have to start talking. Once we know that, now it's time to do something. That's the hard part.
The action.
Right.
The action.
And this is part of that intradependent part. right? We're doing the internal work,
Yeah.
and then we go interdependent, the outside work. And it's courageous communication, humility, and equality. And
Love the equality too.
yeah. And so when I say equality, we're not talking about, yes, everybody's equal, but it's more of where do we fit in? Where does this idea?
Right.
So that we call
We're all
that
part of the big puzzle, yeah?
big puzzle.
You think of it that way?
So now, and by the way, when you do that, you build trust.
Yeah.
So if you're doing this in an organization, even your own self-trust, right? Because sometimes we're hurt, we have scarred. How do you get past that?
Trials and tribulations, right? We have to fall sometimes to rise higher.
You build those roots.
Yeah.
And so this is what we're doing, building those roots where it could be this beautiful tree. And then you have commitment and intimacy are the next two principles. Because once we know where we are, what we want, and we've pressure tested with humility, and we know where we are, then we can commit, and then we have that intimacy we enjoy. This is where I belong. This is my destiny. This is my company.
Is that part of finding your purpose?
It is, I guess. Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you find that. But so there's those 7 to heaven. Now we've made it. But you can't stop there. Now it's 5 to thrive, because this is where you have to do is you constantly inspire yourself. So inspiration, patience, kindness, forgiveness, and celebration. Right. And imagine a dinner table without any forgiveness or patience. It would be really difficult dinner, right? Yeah.
You bet.
So
or you have a live show for stream.
There you go. Right. Right. So those are the 7 to heaven, the 5 to thrive. And when we put those together, we can do the work ourselves or for a company, for a group, our community, our country, or we could also build a business. These are the same steps we use to build a business. So a lot of times I work with people and hey, I want to start this new company. This is what you do. Truth and desire. Let's build a courageous community. So this is what we do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all this is applicable to, as we mentioned earlier, to all organizations.
All organizations,
right.
And every individual, because while these principles they're universal, right? But they're based on the human, and we use them for individual growth as well. Mm-hmm. But just think about that also, because when we do that ourselves, it permeates everyone. It's not just ourselves; it's our kids, it's our families. And that all of a sudden we're going to go home, we're going to feel good, and it creates a ripple effect.
It's where the quantum theorists come in, right? They start talking about frequencies, and of course, everything's energy, and I'm down with that. But you and I have to. How do we explain it out to the public? How do we help them understand that they do have they're strong enough to work within themselves to build that confidence, because the inner critic's always pounding us in there. And love helps tremendously. Again, we're talking about that love talk to ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's empowering right there.
Sure.
Tell us your thoughts on, we started speaking about the hybrid and how that is today. Tell us your thoughts about that overall, and then how that might affect the understanding of collaborative love.
It's interesting that there's a lot of studies on that, and I talk to folks every day about this, really. And a lot of companies are trying to make it mandatory to come and work 5 days a week into the city and
make.
I know,
make
right?
It
make them,
yeah.
But then people say, well, I don't have to make. I could go get another job, right? And that's what a lot of people do. And I think they'll find a balance.
All age groups? Are you noticing all age groups? Not just the ones who are fresh.
Well,
into
it varies.
force?
Some people prefer to be in the office. They don't want to be home. They get bored.
Yeah.
Other people miss that sense of community. Some people say, "Oh, it's a work day. We get to go in," because they're not used to it, and they dress up. We get to put up a nice outfits and go to work. It's like, yeah, we did that for many years, but.
Or the others that just want to lay around the hoodies all day long, or however that may be, and that for them that works.
And if it works, and that's the end of the days. You got to see what works. Every company's going to be a little bit different. Yeah. And but look, I think there's still nothing better to have that face-to-face meeting. What we are seeing, a big trend is people going in 3 days a week. Tuesday, Thursday. Those are hot days. Monday, Friday, people are working.
Seems to be a bit of a compromise now, as opposed to the way it was when they initially rolled it out.
Yeah.
And it does seem to be that they're settling on 3.
Right. And
they're working 4 for a while. Remember when they first started?
I know people are upset about that, but there's a lot of things that it does open up. I think the dust is still settling in that area, but in general, look, I mean, whatever's good, and we're getting results. But we certainly recommend people getting together in every so often, having that culture. You want to make sure people are on the same page. I am concerned about a lot of people who are younger. I mean, where do you start if you are right out of college? Well, those jobs that nobody wanted, the mundane work, they're dried up with AI.
The grind work, right?
Yeah,
the grind to find.
Yeah, and if you're not sitting in the office, you're not sitting next to the guy watching him crash and burn and be like, oh, I'm not going to do that,
That's right.
Or commiserating either and be like, wow, did you just hear that?
Yeah.
And people are missing that type of conversation, but I think we could do more of that. And companies have to do a better job, I think, of making that available and having these meetups, people connecting. Training's a good way to get people together, share ideas. But we're a human species. We're human beings. We have to be together.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. I want to put you on the spot a little bit. If you had to make a choice, is it hybrid or is it full in 5 days a week?
Well, you and I both commuted like 4 hours a day, right? So
We did.
that was a long time, and
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
not
hard
complaining.
work.
It was hard work. We took the boat, and so that was a joy to be with our friends.
Yes. Yes.
But I enjoy hybrid and going in probably once a day, once a month, or go wherever to go. And speaking, you go wherever you have to be.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So I really don't mind that.
Yeah.
But my work does take me wherever I need to be, and I find that could be very productive that way, and probably work way more hours. If I was just going 9 to 5.
Sure.
But
Travel.
travel,
All sorts of stuff pops in.
yeah. But I do enjoy being with people and working, and I don't know. I just think I work harder and get more done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How about
let's
yourself?
talk about yeah. I'm with you. I like to be out there.
Yeah.
As you know, both of us, do spend time at home or office, doing Zooms from people that we can't connect with in person. But I am an in-person personality myself.
Yeah.
So I do believe that. 5 days a week, I get that. As a trader, we had to be there anyway. So, and a lot of businesses do demand that. So is it meant for all? I don't know. Not necessarily not. I've always kind of felt like that.
Yeah.
I've always been an entrepreneur all my life, so I've just been watching the corporate world do as it will. And, I shied away from it a lot because I would see a lot of my friends' fathers in their 50s and whatnot start complaining about their job's going to be lost.
Yeah.
They still have to care for the family because of retirement was coming around the corner.
Right.
And as you know, people who have come without jobs or were in the job force and then were forced out of it in their late 40s, early 50s, they're coming back in trying to find a way. Good luck.
Yeah.
It is tough.
It's tough. Yeah.
Years ago, not so bad. Today, far more difficult.
Yeah.
So let's talk deeply about how you and I see the effect to the younger generations. And we can do this in different ways because, as you and I both know, the early 20s coming into the job force, to them, this is natural. Right?
Yep.
And it's interesting to watch them choose whether they want a hybrid or they want to go in full time. We're seeing more and more of them obviously, want to do the hybrid. Or is it full time at home? We can go there.
Yeah.
What does that do to us full time at home?
Yeah.
And I think this is a big experiment. I mean, our lives have been filled with that, you and I, if you think about it.
Yeah.
All this time. But here and now is the understanding how are we going to have people perform to the desired ability that the corp needs, the organization needs, the individual needs.
Yeah.
So it can't be just an individual decision, unfortunately.
Right.
It's got to be mandated somewhere, somehow, even by yourself, if to mandate yourself.
Right.
On which you're going to feel good. But that takes time to learn.
Yeah.
So how do you see that?
Yeah, it does take time to learn. You're right. And it's also, look, not everybody can work from home. The distractions, the dog barking and the cat, and people.
Well, you're not out of the element too. That's the other thing. So the environment, we were, referencing that as part of the disciplines.
Right.
So, we're in the same environment 12, 14 hours a day, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's tough.
And it's hard. I mean, if you are in that role, it's really important to go out and grab a neighbor who is also working on, go for a walk, do something like that. You have to have that connection regardless, because just to sit in a room all day long is not healthy for anybody, right? Even, how many people one worked for these big tech companies and they sat in a dark room and just coded all day, and that wasn't good for them either.
Well, they burned out. There was burnout in that, as you know.
Yeah, and that goes back to the Surgeon General's report. When they did that report, they found that just that aspect of being isolated is equivalent to smoking 16 cigarettes a day.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Could you imagine that?
That's wild.
And that's from sitting and just, not doing.
Why they equate it to nicotine or smoking?
Well, it has all those effects, right? It has all the effects of not being energetic, not moving.
Oh, I see.
And then your
Of
lung
course.
capacity and everything, everything starts to atrophy.
Everything is disrupting, yeah.
Yeah, and there's all types of stuff, and it's. But you think about then that's going to wear your body. Your mind is right behind that.
We have to remember atrophy can happen at a very young age, not just at an older age.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how many people did we know in high stress New York City that 20-something dropped and had a heart attack right in front of us and walking out of the building, right? And so
Too many. Yeah.
Too many, right? But that's the opposite, right? So I think the idea though is to find that media, but also seeing that there's an expectation too with corporates in general that especially young people too are being taken advantage of. We see folks, and I'm not bad-mouthing any financial company, but we've seen young, healthy guys working 20 hours a day and having heart attacks, and that has to stop, right? And we have to start treating people like they're people, and it's only good for them because that's sustainable anyway, right? You get the next guy in, but how is that sustainable for a business?
Right.
Right. And it is your job, then it's very likely that that job will probably be eliminated with AI as well. So it's kind of like I think we have to. There's going to be some the dust will settle there too, but I think we have to do a better job saying what we tolerate because what we tolerate is what we get. So I think when we go to look for these jobs, how much to pay? That's a good question. But I'm hearing a lot of people say, "What's my purpose in the job, and what's my quality of life too?"
It's that purpose word again, right?
Purpose word. Yeah.
That purpose word is around us from the day we're born. And it just keeps reminding us that we are a purpose. We're born for purpose.
Yeah.
It's a God-given gift, and we're fortunate enough to be here. So this is why we want to help people keep believing in themselves, keep donating yourselves, keep serving to your beliefs, to your understandings, to other people. Reach out, help. That reaching hand is just so valuable. This is why I bring up the hybrid. And if we're home all day long, how does that happen? You mentioned, I agree. Get up, go do something for a little while, do something different, switch it out. And people can do that. A lot can figure that out, but a lot get stuck because it's a routine. So it's that being comfortable, uncomfortable feeling, right?
Right.
They're willing to be uncomfortable. But as you know, I both know, is the other way around. Is to be uncomfortable, to get comfortable.
Sure.
So this is where the world is trying to figure it out now. Is the hybrid still going to be area of contention? Is it a dysfunction? Is it functional? Where's it going to pan out?
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's use love as part of that.
So it's been said, people don't quit companies, they quit their managers, right? And how many times?
Glad you brought that up.
Right. Yeah. And that's where it comes from. And I think when we look at our managers, our people we're working with, our team, it's everything, right? And it's so important to have that connection. We could be really good at a job. And I like the idea of being uncomfortable, get comfortable. But look, our jobs, we should be having fun too. Yeah. And some people say, oh, we don't have to be fun. Like this is like the 50s. It's like we're making widgets. Like, well, we don't make widgets anymore. They're done by AI, by the way. And by the way, everything's changed now. How we process, how we run our relationships, right? All those things have changed. And it's not just, it's being soft. They're modified. You have to be stronger today to actually do this, right?
Much.
Love is not an easy thing. This takes strength. This takes work, right?
Yeah.
And so when we do that, we're better off. But I think you also want to have fun because at the end of the day, when we do that, we're connected to people. When I say fun, we're passionate about what we're doing. We're having a great time, and that's the drive, right? Because I've worked for companies.
We're raw, we're authentic, and we're in there, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked for companies where we were like that. We were having so much fun. We couldn't wait to go back to work, and we were crushing. We were making so much money. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then the opposite, same company. Everybody's the tyrant at the top. You work more hours, and no one was making money. 150% turnover, meaning it's like the whole office turned around. Not everybody, obviously, but a number of people.
That's energy.
It's energy.
That's what you're leaning into.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all energy. But then it's like, that's what it is. And so love has such a really important part. And just think about any charismatic leader, right? He shows up, or she shows up, and people know exactly what's going on. They're passionate and they have competency, right? They're passionate about what they're doing and they're confident what they're doing. And that's the definition, I think, of a really good charismatic leader. But they're connected. Yeah. And that's what people want. That's what they want to feel, that's a good leader, and we need to do a better job of that. Unfortunately, we do see this a lot of times. People get promoted because they were good at their job. they get the job and they're really never managed anybody, including a baseball team. So it's kind of
It's
an
a little
issue.
difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little
managing people is not easy. You
No,
know,
it's a difficult thing. Yeah.
yeah, we're simple but complicated creatures, as we all know.
Yeah.
So I know that the audience is probably itching at this, and so am I. Your thoughts of love and the AI coming into the let's go into the business world first.
Yeah.
How do you see that transfer or that correlation or that partnership? What is it to you, love and AI?
So again, AI is doing a lot of great things and it's helping people. I think if we could be better at our jobs, just to say a doctor, right? And how does doctor use AI? Well, sure they do. They're getting all kinds of scans. They could do a better job at looking at a CAT scan and, doing
But it's
research.
delivering didactical information,
Yeah.
which has been being collected from you and I since we were born, right? I mean, pretty much. I'm exaggerating a bit,
Sure.
but data has been collected from all of us all these years,
Yeah.
and now we're seeing part of the reason why. But
Right.
all has been because of stats, or it's all has been readings and things like that. But
Yeah.
you understand where I'm getting at.
Of course, but we still have to have that human connection, and that's where this love can be that much more powerful. I think we look at that. We're making bigger decisions with that data. Is all we're doing. At the end of the day, we're showing up. We're being more human. We're going to be more efficient, more effective, more efficient. But when we're making those decisions, we're making with more information, and we'll be able to be better leaders, better business people, and better connection in making things happen. I think those things of the human connection is going to be the next oil and gas. I think it's going to be something that people really need and want. It's going to be what's driving, because all these other things are going to be useful, but we're going to need competent people, that charismatic person, that have passion and competency, that are going to be able to say, yeah, I understand what needs to happen. This is the main thing.
Yeah.
And see the forest for the trees. And that's a skill. And we could learn it, right? And
Yeah, of course.
the goal of the principles in the book is there's a framework here.
Yeah.
We're selling the framework, but that's really what it is. And we can embed that in an organization. We can embed that in how we go about our day, how we handle situations, so that we can do a better job of really understanding what the human connection needs and wants.
Yeah. So you've been using that word connection. How is the connection going to turn out? We're speculating with AI and the correlation of love. Where does that come out? How does that play? What does AI override our understanding of love, because it's going to come out in different visions, different verbiage?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think AI will help us make better decisions, right? There's probably a lot of times we
Even in an emotional aspect of love?
Yeah, I think people do talk to chat, whether it's ChatGPT or any chatbot and an agent, that people are more accustomed to that too. And I think that we'll see a lot of that. But it helps people make decisions. Is this a good decision, Owen? I don't know.
It's a tool.
A good tool, right? I remember listening to Melissa Etheridge do an interview with her song. We're talking about I Want to Come Over was a song. And everybody's, that was a great song. She says, it was a great song, but a bad idea.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Apparently something really bad happened. But
right.
But the idea is, I think that kind of scenario that it's going to help us make better decisions in a way that's going to be useful. And we could then have information that, weigh our decisions, outcomes that we may not have thought of. But love is going to be part of that conversation. But I also think that there's another part of this where decisions are going to be made with sustainability. And look, there's so many, we have to be very cautious of that, because when we look at sustainability as a planet, right, we're using our resources like there's no tomorrow, and there's another planet we could just tap into.
Right. Yeah.
And we have to, that's another part of love, is that we have to look at the environment where, if we don't take care of, running water, for instance, I mean, if you think about quantum computing, or even just AI in general, it uses a ton of water. And that's a ton of, to cool it.
Yes.
And these are real life issues. And so there's a capacity issue, and we really have to be cognizant of that. I know big companies like Google and Amazon, I'm sure they're all over that as well. But what else can we do, right? And I think some countries are putting servers in space because that's where they're cooling. But at the end of the day, I think as a planet, it just goes to show that love has to be there. We have to say, we got to love ourselves. We got to be one planet. And we're seeing countries are talking to each other about this, and beyond, like, would almost be collusion in another sense, but it's like, no, we got to be smart about this, right? With our resources.
Yeah. Like the way you're cautiously use collusion because everything starts to come down to money. So
right. But when it comes down to one planet, but this is another thing that's interesting, Kurt. And I ran into this fellow drawer years ago on a plane to Chicago, but he created this thing called the Outlook. What was Outlook? It's a giant amphitheater essentially to simulate what it looks like it's called the look back, what it looks like to look back at the planet Earth from the moon. And the idea is every astronaut that's gone in space has come back with the very same first impression. What a small little planet. How can we not get along?
Right.
Right? There's no lines. There's no economy. There's no whatever.
So interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
But they've all said this. Every cosmonaut, and whether it's Russia, India, Chinese, Japan. And it's said in different words, but it's fun to look it up. It's for an exercise. And so Dror, he's a famous architect, but he's created this look back so people can simulate that and hopefully have that same experience. As we're talking about here, it's like we need more love in the world. And when we do, we're going to be better off. Because, with that report, we talked about isolation, loneliness. If 60, 70% of the U.S. population is suffering from depression, from isolation and loneliness, we got to do something about it. That's epidemic proportion.
Yeah. To your point, yes, I agree. And we've been identifying that the public is now uncling a little bit or giving in a little bit to understand, okay, maybe I need to work on myself.
Yeah.
Before I go out to the therapy world, before I go out to the psychiatry, psychologist, the drugs, before I start leaning into things that I haven't gone all the way through my core understanding of who I am, and love is everywhere inside of us. And it's just so, for you and I, and for a lot of people, I guess it can be easier brought out than others. But for me, it's just walk in and smile.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm elevated.
That's right.
Yeah. Of course, our talk's elevating me too because you're fascinating. You're fabulous and fascinating, and we speak the same language so much. It's so much fun. But and then you put a frown on.
Right. Yeah. And it's contagious, isn't it? Yeah.
You bet it is.
Yeah.
And not just that, our bodies feeling that, is so interesting.
Yeah.
All of our mechanisms are so sensitive.
Yeah.
Therefore, we get a little sensitive,
Yeah.
and perhaps we jump into situations we shouldn't, or we stay away from things that we should.
Yeah. You think about that. We have all those things inside us. We have oxytocin. We have all those endorphins that flood our body, and we also have cortisol, and all those things are natural, and they could be triggered just by our emotions. So when we think, "Oh, is love? Is that soft?" It's like, seriously, this is chem class, right? It's all fired up. But
so we speak. I'm sorry, but I got to go here. So I'm always pounding into the camera and to the episodes. Are two energies: the anabolic, which you were just talking about, the constructive, the building, the endorphin, push, and then that cortisol dump is the catabolic. Woof! The deconstructive, I feel like hell. I'm no good.
Right.
And that's that cortisol. So I just had to bring that in there because it's really just that simple.
Yep.
If we can just focus on those two types of energy and the understanding that you put out there, and we just elaborate a little bit more, it is very empowering. Because we start to realize that why we're not feeling so comfortable with ourselves is because we are having a cortisol dump. Yeah. What do? Get out of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, what's that mean? Mentally, emotionally, get up physically, whatever it means to step out of it. And remember that we have that anabolic energy to look forward to. The dopamine. I'm sorry, I said endorphins earlier. The dopamine push. I started thinking about endorphins because we can go there too. My gosh. Right. But anyway, because love will do that, right? It'll fire endorphins. Right. But it's that dopamine push that we know is available.
Right.
So. Buyer, don't beware. Go, just go, and release yourself to the cortisol. Accept it, and then say, "I'm going to fly high." I like that higher energy.
Right? Absolutely, yeah. And you're right. The cortisol thing. When people are angry, they're frustrated. Go back to the Surgeon General's report one more time. There's a $20 billion of loss in the United States every year due to workplace absenteeism. $20 billion. And you think about that, right?
A lot of money.
It's like, and that's just all cortisol.
Yeah.
And it's that boss pushing down, and you didn't have to lose all that money. And if you want to turn the country around, There you go. There's positivity, right? It's just it's love, it's connection. This thing that drives people, that dopamine rush that people get, and we don't have to be flowery. In fact, we've said it. This isn't a flowery thing.
Right.
This is love that is strong. This is love that is healing, that builds and binds, that starts wars, that ends wars. This is real power, and this is what people need and want, And this is we can do something about that, as you said. It's just like you said, that putting that smile on someone's face, or like a candle, right? You could, it's like fire, right? You could keep spreading it. It's not going to lose something. You just keep growing. And that's the thing about love. You could give it to somebody. It's not like you lose it. It's just the fire just passes on to somebody else's candle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to trip a little bit here with you.
Yeah.
Partnerships, honeymoons. We fall in love and we decide we're going to marry or say we're going to live together, however it's going to work out. And we're in the honeymoon stage. We all know it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's glorious. Talk about the dopamine fills. And,
Yep.
you're just so high on everything.
Sure.
Your partner can do no wrong. You can do no wrong together. You realize, and this is a collaborative, all of it. And then as time goes on, influences come into our lives. Of course, children are one of them. But things, we just start to change.
Yeah.
Whether we're on our own or whether we're with somebody else. We just start to change. And therefore, we start to question, honey, do you still love me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It comes back to the 5 to thrive, right? In order to sustain any relationship, you need those 5 things. You need to inspire each other, right? Every relationship needs to be inspirational.
Absolutely.
Especially husband, wife.
Supportive
support
with that. Yes.
Absolutely. And that's the inspiration. Hey, we could do this. There's going to be tough times, right? Because that's part of it, right? And then there's the patience, kindness, forgiveness, right?
Respect.
In respect, right? And part of forgiveness is learning, right? And so it's not just, oh, I forgive you. It's like, what do we learn here, right? And then
huge to say, I forgive you. Huge to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
And
also to forgive the person, and sometimes not even for that person, but for yourself.
Exactly.
Because forgiveness, and we have those other things that eat people up.
It's internal.
Things like guilt and that frustration, right? And it's internal.
Well, we internalize. That's why a lot of times we don't say, I'm sorry or I forgive you.
Right.
We're so busy trying to, it's just not our natural part, even though it's there for us to naturally do it. Our limiting beliefs and our belief system hasn't brought it to us until our generation now.
Right.
We have the fortune to help others
along
with all this.
For sure. And I think, one thing we didn't talk about earlier was this concept of things like meditation and mindfulness, right? Because this is where we can kind of have that moment. We talked a little bit about it, inferred, but when it comes to like things like forgiveness and those type of things, as you said, our generation's now more of like, hey, we can fix this now. And a good way of doing that is spending time in meditation. However you want. It doesn't have to be, light incense or anything else or anything, but which is always a good thing too. But
we can all find our own little means of quietness somehow, right?
Yeah, and that mindfulness, right? And that pause. And that's so important. And it's also important for our self-love, but also for others, and give people that opportunity to do that and to respect that and even recommend that. If somebody's having a struggle, right, that's part of love, is to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's also, you might see somebody struggling with, even with patience or just forgive them and say, hey, just meditate over it, man. Just think about that. And some people have a hard time with that. So much noise in my head. Oh, and I can't meditate. It's like, well, just try it and keep trying. And eventually people end up finding this, but they find peace. And they find another place where they can go to tap into that energy set, that core energy, that then they can do something about it.
Right. Yes. I'm a big believer in love, like you. Yeah. And, when I've worked with people that are struggling in relationships and whatnot, and they will say, well, I believe he doesn't love me, he or she doesn't love me, or maybe I've fallen out of love. I'll say, well, tell me what your definition of love is. Get tongue-tied.
Yeah.
Because it's what's happening. The outside influencers are coming in and they're disrupting their core love that's there for that other person. More than likely forever.
Right.
Once we give a little bit of our heart to somebody and it's in full, it doesn't have to, not a full heart, but a little piece of your heart and full 100% of that piece, that stays with us.
Oh, yeah.
That really never goes away.
Right.
And therefore connections.
Connections, yeah. And alignment too, right? And we see that too, right? And so sometimes people, and that's not an old story, right? Society, influence outside, pull us away, right? We have to come back to this alignment. But look, I mean, there's times when people are no longer in alignment, and that's okay. Maybe you've gone that path, and it's time to walk a different direction too, and that's okay. And
Definitely.
I think in the world today, we've seen that for many years, right? That there's different types of families today, and that's okay, right? We have,
Yeah.
you know,
More blended than we've ever
Blended.
seen, right?
Yep.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Because the world, in essence, is coming together. And we're seeing that the world's being torn apart. Well, in essence, from what you and I have seen, it's coming together,
Yeah.
albeit all this jostling for different things. And of course, politics is not a big subject in this podcast, so we won't go there. But it is that, trying to figure it out now.
Yeah.
So I applaud all the the multinational people we're becoming,
Yeah.
and all that, the crossing over. We're all, we're all pretty much very simple creatures if we think about it. And where does that simplicity start from and with? What's a big part of it? It's
Love.
L-O-V.
There you go.
Love.
Love it.
You are exactly. You have been fantastic. Thank you for tripping with me. As you know, this is not a scripted podcast. None of them are. So thank you for following through and staying on point with me 100%. It's been fabulous.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, good. So we're coming to the close of our time together, unfortunately. I hope you consider coming back, because I would like to extend an invitation for you to do that sometime.
For sure.
You and I have so much to talk about.
Oh, good.
And hopefully we deliver good things to everybody.
Yes.
Yes. Owen, the world right now, as you know, is in a very tumultuous time frame. There's a lot of movement going on. Right now, you are a blank piece of paper, a white sheet. What would Owen like to see in the world as it is today?
Great question. I think
there's no one answer. Remember, we're multi.
Yeah.
I'll let you out a little bit because we're multi-dimensional people. So
yeah, and just so we know, what I do with my book and my cause, The Power of Love in Business and The Power of Love, and my brand, Owen Burns, or Burns Bright Consulting. There are other people around the world doing this, and we do have these meetups where we do talk, and people are trying to do this kind of stuff around the world. And we're seeing the same type of thing. But we'd like to see is more people do more about talking more about love, institutionalizing, making more part of it, more part of the conversation. And it doesn't have to just be love. We could call it something else. We could call it connection. We call it passion and connection. And I think there's a lot of people doing that. But we also have to do some things where we are, as we're talking about, those influences that are pulling us away. And I think we just have to do a better job as individuals, and start with individuals and start working that out. So I think if I had a blank sheet, I would love to see people embrace more of that, take that, carry that flame and spread it to other people around them. And that could be within organizations, community groups, big countries, right? And we need to do that. I think there's a lot of people who talk about it, but we have to do more to make sure that that happens in a way where it's sustainable. And we're at a crossroads. This is a very important time, and I think we have a lot of good people that are trying to do good things. We just have to focus on it.
Yep, I agree. And there will be trials and errors. There will be bumps.
Oh, yeah.
There are hurdles. We're experiencing them now. But we are, we're very interesting creatures. We can certainly work ourselves through anything. We've shown that in time.
Oh, yeah.
So we're very fortunate that way.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it. I agree. Love can cure so much, and we need to understand how to talk it to not just ourselves, most importantly ourselves first, but to our neighborhood, if you will, of people.
Yeah.
And then if we can reach out like you've been doing, and you've been fantastic, and congratulations on the book and the upcoming book and all that you've been doing.
Yeah.
So before we sign off, would you like to let the audience know a little bit more about you and where they can find you and how that might be?
Yeah, sure. So you could go to burnsbrightconsulting.com. You'll see my handiwork there. But I'm always happy to come out and speak to organizations, groups, large groups. I do that regularly. And also just what we do, our executive coaching. I love meeting with people one-on-one. Just reach out. I'm happy to get back to you. My books are online as well. But always looking to spread the love.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Do you mind showing the book?
This is The Power of Love in Business.
Oh, look at that. Oh, that's excellent. Thank you so much. The cover is beautiful, excellently done, and I know a lot in there is fabulous. So thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Owen.
Great, thank you.
Audience, thank you for joining us today. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have and has learned as much as I have. As we know, everyone we meet is our teacher and student too, and we really enjoyed Owen tonight so much. And thank you for joining us. Now remember, everybody, I do want to give thanks to Rect Productions and also to Alex Fabio, who is a part of this podcast as well. And with that being said, we'd also like to remind you that your mind is your power. Stay empowered.